Airport security is changing, and if you're not aware of the new TSA security rules you need to know in 2025, you might face long delays, extra screenings, or even be denied boarding. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, is implementing stricter regulations to enhance security, speed up processing, and adapt to new global threats. But many travelers are unaware of these changes, which could make your next trip more stressful than necessary. Before we get into the biggest security updates coming in 2025, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any important travel updates. Now, let's dive into the new TSA rules that will affect everyone flying in 2025. Number 1. Stricter identification requirements. Your ID might not work anymore. Starting in 2025, the TSA will enforce the final phase of the Real ID Act, which means that many travelers will no longer be able to use their standard driver's license to board domestic flights. If your state-issued ID isn't Real ID compliant, you must use a passport, military ID, or another approved form of identification to clear security. Although this law has been delayed several times, the TSA has made it clear that 2025 is the final deadline. Many states have already started rolling out new IDs with a star symbol in the upper right corner to indicate compliance, but millions of travelers still don't have one. If you're planning to fly in 2025 and haven't upgraded your ID yet, it's crucial to check your state's requirements and get a real ID before your next trip. Otherwise, you'll be turned away at security and won't be allowed to board your flight. Number 2. Full body scanners are becoming more advanced, and you can't opt out. TSA is rolling out next-generation full-body scanners that are faster, more accurate, and eliminate the need for physical pat-downs in most cases. These advanced scanners use millimeter wave technology to detect prohibited items without the need for travelers to remove shoes, belts, or jackets. However, what's different in 2025 is that opt-outs will no longer be allowed in many cases. In the past, passengers could request a manual pat-down instead of going through the scanner, but the TSA is tightening security and removing this option for most travelers. The only exceptions will be for medical reasons or specific religious accommodations, which must be pre-approved. This means that if you refuse to go through the scanner, you might face significant delays, additional questioning, or even be denied boarding. If you're uncomfortable with these scanners, be prepared for increased security measures and longer wait times at the airport. Number 3. Liquid restrictions are changing, but not in the way you expect. For years, travelers have been restricted to carrying 3.4-ounce 100 milliliter bottles of liquid in their carry-on bags, but new technology is finally changing that. Some major airports in the US and Europe are introducing CT scanners that allow larger liquid containers to be carried through security. However, there's a catch. While some airports will lift the 100 milliliter limit, others will still enforce it, leading to massive confusion among travelers. The TSA is adopting these changes gradually, meaning that one airport might allow full-size bottles, while another airport on your return trip might still confiscate them. This inconsistent rollout means travelers can't assume the rules are the same everywhere. If you're flying out of an airport that hasn't updated its scanners, you'll still need to follow the old rules. To avoid losing your items at security, it's best to check your departure and arrival airport policies before packing. Number 4. Electronics must be fully charged, or they might get confiscated. In 2025, TSA is cracking down on unpowered electronic devices, which means if your laptop, phone, tablet, or camera is completely dead at security, you might have to leave it behind. This rule is being introduced due to heightened concerns over hidden explosives in electronic devices. Airport security officers are now required to ask some passengers to power on their devices during screening. If your device doesn't turn on, it could be flagged as a security risk, and you won't be allowed to take it with you. This means that if you're traveling in 2025, you need to make sure all your electronics are fully charged before arriving at the airport. Carrying a portable power bank is a good idea, but be aware that power banks over 100 watt-hours are also restricted and could be confiscated. Number 5. Random secondary screenings will increase, even for pre-check travelers. TSA PreCheck has been a lifesaver for frequent travelers, allowing them to bypass long lines and avoid removing shoes, belts, and laptops. However, in 2025, the TSA is expanding its use of random secondary screenings, meaning that even PreCheck and global entry passengers aren't guaranteed a quick security experience. Increased security threats have led TSA to introduce additional random checks, which means more travelers will be pulled aside for extra screening. This could include hand swabs for explosive residue, full-body pat-downs, or bag searches, even if you have PreCheck status. Travelers should arrive at the airport even earlier than before, since a random screening could add 10 to 15 extra minutes to your security check. Even if you have TSA PreCheck, there's no guarantee you won't be selected for a secondary check, so plan accordingly. Number 6. Stricter carry-on baggage screening. More items could get confiscated. TSA is introducing stricter scanning procedures for carry-on bags, meaning more travelers could lose items they previously thought were allowed. Enhanced X-ray and CT scanners are making it easier for agents to detect suspicious materials, and as a result, more bags will be flagged for secondary inspection. One of the biggest changes in 2025 is that certain items that were previously allowed may now be subject to additional scrutiny. These include powders, food items, and even some personal hygiene products like deodorants and lotions. While these items aren't necessarily banned, TSA officers have been given more discretion to confiscate anything they deem suspicious. Travelers are reporting increased bag checks for seemingly harmless items like protein powders, baby formula, coffee grounds, and even cosmetics. If an officer suspects something in your bag is a security risk, they can force you to throw it away, even if it's technically allowed. To avoid unnecessary delays, pack liquids, powders, and food items in easily accessible sections of your bag so they can be quickly screened if needed. Number 7. The expansion of facial recognition. Your ID might not be needed anymore. TSA is rapidly expanding the use of facial recognition technology at airport security checkpoints. In 2025, many major U.S. airports will no longer require passengers to show a physical ID at TSA checkpoints. Instead, your face will become your identification. This AI-powered system scans passengers' faces and matches them to their passport or driver's license on file. While this speeds up the screening process, it has also raised privacy concerns, with some travelers worried about how their biometric data is stored and used. Although participation is currently optional, some airports are moving toward making facial recognition mandatory in the near future. If you're uncomfortable with this system, you can still opt for manual ID verification, but it may take longer. If you frequently travel in 2025, it's important to be aware of which airports are using facial recognition, as this technology is set to become the new normal for airport security. Number 8. New no-fly list rules. More travelers could be banned from flying. TSA is tightening its no-fly list policies in 2025, which means more travelers could be banned from flying for non-criminal behavior. Previously, the no-fly list was mainly reserved for individuals deemed to be serious security threats, but recent changes have expanded the criteria. Now, passengers who engage in aggressive behavior, refuse to comply with security protocols, or create disturbances on planes could face temporary or even permanent flight bans. This means if a passenger argues with TSA officers, refuses to remove prohibited items, or even fails to follow crew instructions on board, their name could be flagged. Many airlines are also sharing passenger misconduct reports with the TSA, leading to a more extensive list of travelers who may be subject to extra screenings or flight restrictions. If you're traveling in 2025, it's more important than ever to stay calm, follow TSA procedures, and avoid conflicts at the airport. Number 9. Baggage fees might include TSA security surcharges. One of the most controversial changes coming in 2025 is that TSA is considering adding security surcharges to checked and carry-on baggage fees. As security measures become more advanced and expensive, TSA is discussing passing some of those costs on to travelers. Airlines may start including TSA security fees in baggage charges, meaning passengers could see higher fees for both checked and carry-on luggage. This could be especially frustrating for budget travelers, as some airlines may use this as an excuse to raise baggage prices. The exact details of these new fees are still being finalized, but many experts predict that by late 2025, travelers will be paying more just to bring their luggage on board. To avoid unexpected costs, travelers should always check airline policies before booking a flight and consider packing light to avoid extra baggage fees. Number 10. TSA is cracking down on airport scams. But you still need to be careful. With new TSA regulations coming in 2025, scammers are finding new ways to target travelers. TSA has issued warnings about fake security agents, baggage claim scams, and fraudulent expedited screening services. One common scam involves fake TSA officers approaching travelers in line and claiming they need to pay an extra security fee. These scammers wear uniforms that look almost identical to real TSA agents, making it hard to spot the difference. Another scam is happening at baggage claim areas where thieves pose as airport staff and offer to help travelers retrieve their bags for a fee. In reality, they either steal the luggage or demand cash before returning it. While TSA is working to crack down on these scams, travelers should always be cautious. Never hand over money to anyone claiming to be a TSA officer, and if you're unsure about a request, ask an official airport representative before complying. Traveling in 2025 is going to be very different, and these new TSA security rules could affect your airport experience in unexpected ways. From stricter screenings to higher fees and new no-fly restrictions, passengers need to stay informed to avoid delays and unnecessary trouble. Before your next trip, make sure to double-check the latest TSA guidelines, pack smart, and be aware of potential airport scams. The more you know, the smoother your journey will be. If you found this information helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay updated on the latest travel news and tips. Safe travels, and we'll see you in the next video.